We've all had those days where motivation feels like a mystery. One morning, you wake up ready to conquer the world. Tasks feel exciting. Energy is high. And you wonder, why can't it be like this every day? But then there are other mornings. You stare at the same list of tasks and feel nothing. No spark, no drive, just resistance. You tell yourself, I'll wait until I feel motivated. Hours slip by, maybe days, and the work remains untouched. Here's the truth most people miss. Motivation doesn't come first. Action does. We tend to imagine motivation as fuel, like gas in a car. No gas, no movement. But the science of behavior shows it's actually the other way around. When you take even a tiny step forward, your brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter linked to motivation. That dopamine creates momentum, and suddenly, you feel more motivated. It's not motivation that leads to action. It's action that creates motivation. This is what I call the motivation action loop. Think of it as a cycle. Step 1, you take action, even if it's small. Step 2, that action generates progress. Step 3, progress sparks motivation. And that motivation fuels more action. Around and around the loop goes. The loop can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Because the opposite is also true. Inaction breeds guilt. Guilt drains motivation. And the less motivated you feel, the less likely you are to act. That's how people spiral into procrastination. So the big question is, how do you intentionally kickstart the motivation action loop when you feel stuck? That's what we'll explore in part 2. 3 practical strategies to start the loop rolling, even on your lowest energy days. So how do you kickstart the motivation action loop on those days when you feel stuck? The answer is to lower the barrier to entry. Don't wait for a spark. Create one. Strategy 1, the 2-minute start. Instead of promising yourself you'll finish the whole project, commit to just 2 minutes. Write the first sentence. Do the first push-up. Open the file. Often, once you start, momentum takes over. That tiny action flips the loop in your favor. Strategy 2, anchor your focus. If your environment is full of distractions, your brain will always drift. Create a single cue, like a specific desk setup, a timer, or even noise-canceling headphones. That signals it's time to work. This isn't just about reducing distractions. It's about creating a ritual trigger that nudges your brain into action. If you want to go deeper into this idea of focus anchors and structured habits, check out my video on 5 daily habits that multiply your focus. Strategy 3, redefine success as progress, not perfection. Too often, people delay action because they're chasing the perfect start. But perfection is paralyzing. Progress, on the other hand, is energizing. Every small win fuels the loop. So instead of asking, did I do this perfectly? Ask, did I move forward? Here's the shift. Motivation isn't a prerequisite. It's a byproduct. When you shrink the task, when you anchor your focus, when you redefine success, you create the spark. That spark turns into momentum. And momentum is what carries you through. But even with the right strategies, there's one more piece of the puzzle, identity. Because the motivation action loop isn't just about what you do, it's about who you see yourself as. And in part 3, we'll explore how identity locks the loop in place. So motivation becomes your default, not your struggle. We've seen that action creates motivation, not the other way around. But here's the deeper truth. The loop becomes unstoppable when it's tied to identity. Think about it. If you see yourself as someone who tries to stay motivated, every day feels like a battle. Some days you win, some days you don't. Motivation is fragile. But when you start telling yourself, I'm someone who takes action, everything shifts. Your identity fuels your behavior, and your behavior reinforces your identity. Each small action isn't just progress on a task. It's evidence that you are the kind of person who moves forward. This creates what psychologists call a feedback loop of identity. The more you act, the more you believe. And the more you believe, the more naturally you act. It's no longer about waiting for motivation. It's about living in alignment with who you already are. So how do you build this identity? Start small. Call yourself a finisher. Take pride in crossing things off early. Instead of saying, I hope I can focus, say, I am someone who focuses. That simple shift may feel subtle, but it rewires the loop at its core. Pair that identity with the strategies from part 2, the 2-minute start, the focus anchor, and the progress over perfection mindset, and you'll find that momentum comes easier. Motivation becomes less of a question mark and more of a natural outcome. Because here's the ultimate takeaway. Motivation isn't a spark you chase. It's a cycle you create. And once you learn to flip that cycle on purpose, procrastination loses its grip. So the next time you catch yourself waiting to feel motivated, remember this loop. Take one small action. Let that action create progress. Let progress fuel motivation. And let motivation carry you into the next action. That's how you break the cycle of waiting and build the cycle of doing.